So coming up on Christmas 2018, I feel like it's a better time than ever to be building either a new PC or a used PC. And reasons being is, for instance, today's guide, where I've picked out the top 5 hustler specials, whether you are flipping PCs or if you're just into building a budget 1080p gaming rig with extremely good performance. This list is certainly going to tickle and arouse those senses in your body. So let's take a look what we have on the list. Welcome back to Tech Yes City. Right here at number 1 is my favorite, at least for now. I've been picking up quite a few of these. This is the RX 470 or the RX 570. I'm finding a lot of the times you can flash an RX 470 into a 570 and vice versa, and they are just going so cheap. In terms of prices, I've been picking up a few personally, whether it be overseas for like $40 US, and in recent times in Australia, I've been picking up quite a few for 70 Aussie dollars. And these are cards with 2 fans, great cooler, from an unknown brand. I'll probably be doing a separate video on this graphics card in itself because it's an interesting story and it will help people out if you want to sort of get those X mining cards. But in general, this card at 1080p will perform so well. It'll play all the latest titles, absolutely no problems. The 4GB VRAM option is just as good as the 8GB VRAM option, especially at 1080p. If you want to step up resolutions, then you might come into some trouble at 1440p depending on the game. But even then, at this price, you are just saving so much money. You can generally couple this card with budget Xeons, for example, or a Ryzen 2200G, and you've just got yourself phenomenal value for money. Coming in at number 2 is again a deal that is just flooding the market, and this is the GTX 1060s, more specifically the 3GB model. I find a lot of gamers want to go for the 6GB model, but really when it comes down to it, 1080p gaming, these cards perform very similar. Unless you need to go for 1440p with a particular game that uses up more VRAM, then the 6GB model may be for you, but they do command a higher price. I find the 3GB models, for instance, can go as low as 140 Aussie dollars. Taking a quick look on Gumtree shows that there's even decent deals up there available for $200 Aussie negotiable, so you can get that down even further, and that's on a decent model with a decent cooler. Again, just like the RX 470, they perform very similar in terms of 1080p performance. Depending on the game, you may get a few more FPS on the GTX 1060 and the RX 470 and 570 and vice versa. And this is why this is coming in at number 2 versus number 1, because the RX 470 I just feel is just such good value at the moment for what it is. Moving on to number 3 is a card that's a little bit low in popularity at the moment, but that means that you can get these for really good prices. And this is the R9 290 or R9 290X, and you can have a look for the R9 390 as well, see if that comes up on a deal. But generally you're gonna get a card with at least 4GB of VRAM on board. This is absolutely fine for 1080p gaming, especially ultra on a lot of titles. And like the RX 570 and also the GTX 1060, it performs in a similar ballpark. Except a lot of times you can get this card for very cheap. Even taking a look on Gumtree at the moment, these cards are going for around $120 for a 290X. Of course, not as good value for money as the RX 470 in my opinion, but it is a card to definitely take a look for if the other 2 cards are not going for good prices. Coming in at number 4, especially coming up to Christmas, is an interesting option because it's the GTX 980, and I'm actually finding these are popping up for sale quite a lot. And it's currently there's one for sale for 200 Aussie dollars, which is an absolute bargain in my opinion. You get a 4GB VRAM buffer on these graphics cards, so for 1080p gaming, it will be very good. It generally performs quite a bit better than the GTX 1060 and also the RX 570, especially at 1080p gaming. And so this card, even if you push the settings, it'll go well at 1440p, and especially at the price, it's one card to definitely keep on your radar. And especially since it's Christmas, a lot of people who have GTX 980s will most likely want to upgrade to an RTX 2080 Ti or a GTX 1080 or 1080 Ti, and so they'll let their 980s go for pretty cheap, despite them being a very powerful card even to this date. And coming in at number 5 and last on the list is the GTX 780 Ti. Quite a beast of a card back a few years ago and still quite a good performer in today's dates. It'll perform similar to a GTX 1060 RX 470, especially at 1080p gaming, but it will use quite a bit more power, so you will need a better power supply than the first two options in today's guide. But it's definitely a card to keep a lookout for if you can't pick up any deals on the before mentioned options. And of course, when it comes to putting a card like this into a build, and if you're going to resell it, it's definitely got a big cooler on it and it will look pretty good in the photos. And of course, there's going to be a lot of cards that didn't make today's list, but the first two options I feel are just abundant in stock and the demand for them isn't so high. For instance, when we look at a GTX 1080 Ti, they're actually in very high demand at the moment. I can't find any locally for a decent price, and when I look on eBay, they're still commanding quite a premium, and that's because people want to upgrade to them. So when that demand's high and the stock's sort of limited, then you will find yourself having a hard time getting a good price on some of these graphics cards. So hopefully today's list gives you an option on what to look out for to get the best deals. Of course, if you've got deals of your own, then drop them in the comment section below, as I love reading your thoughts and opinions as always, and I'll catch you in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.